After Hush and Last Shift, this movie is going to be the third horror movie in a row that didn't have a theatrical release, but found its audience through video on demand. Yes, today we're gonna take a look at We Are Still Here. And I like that, you know, like I feel like these independent filmmakers are getting more and more interesting, especially compared to some of the shit Hollywood is spitting out, you know, when it comes to horror movies. And I'm not saying that this movie here is the greatest horror movie ever made since the existence of time, but I did kinda like it. We follow a grieving couple that recently lost their son. They just bought a new house in a small town, hoping that this will give them some closure, you know, a new beginning. But a new beginning is always a little hard when your neighbors tell you that the house you just bought used to belong to a family that used it as a funeral house, but sold all the dead bodies and buried empty caskets. And it's even harder when all kinds of weird shit starts to happen in the house. Okay, that's not very original though, now is it? As soon as I realized that I was watching a horror movie about a couple in an old house that had like a crazy backstory to it, I was like, okay, so, well, you know, I'm curious to what the twist is gonna be to this age-old formula. As it turns out, with this movie, the twist is that there is none. It's just an homage to the movies of the 70s and the 80s. Most notably the work of Italian filmmaker Lucio Fulci, specifically his movie The House by the Cemetery. And that's good, you know, like I have no problem with that. The House by the Cemetery is actually one of my all-time favorite horror movies. So now with that in mind, let's take a look. Some of the similarities are pretty obvious, like the setting in the somewhat creepy house in New England and the big scary cellar. And there's tons of little references like this, mostly in the characters' names, which are almost all taken from The House by the Cemetery and The Beyond, the two Lucio Fulci movies. Another thing they took from the movies from that era is the pacing. I read some complaints about this movie being boring, and well, I actually understand that criticism since it is pretty slow. The whole movie, it's very stylistic, you know, taking its time to establish the mood and the locations and all of that. I personally, I didn't really have a problem with that, although I do feel like the desired effect wasn't completely accomplished. Like, the movie was atmospheric to a certain degree, but it didn't nail the whole throwback feel as well as, for example, The House of the Devil from 2009, which I think did a brilliant and actually a much better job at recreating that late 70s, early 80s vibe. Okay, so this movie it's like a slow-paced homage to the horror movies of the late 70s and early 80s. That's cool. I mean, like I said, I love those movies. But on the other hand, you can't just give a movie a pass just because it is a tribute to something you love. Or, you know, because it's referencing something that you recognize. You know, that's like me throwing in a random "what were they thinking?" and expecting everybody to instantly love my channel. Nah, we're not letting this movie off the hook that easily. So let's take a look at how good this movie really is. Because, well, besides the stylistic homage and the little references, what do we have? Like I said, the story isn't all that great, and neither is all of the acting. It's not bad, I've definitely seen worse.
I mean, the ladies love it.
But it all just falls a little flat. Which is a shame, because I did like most of the cast. Most notably Barbara Crampton, another obvious reference since she was a 80s scream queen, probably best remembered for her role in Reanimator, another one of my favorite horror movies. I also recognized Lisa Marie, who I really only know as Vampira in Tim Burton's Ed Wood. She was actually Tim Burton's partner for a while, and for some reason, she hasn't appeared in a lot of movies after they broke up. I wonder why. Probably because she's just not that great of an actress. Also, the role that she plays here of a spiritualist, it's a bit of a walking cliche. But there's some cool stuff as well, which would be a bit of a spoiler, so skip to the conclusion if you're thinking of watching this movie and, you know, you want to be at least a little surprised. So, there's a twist at one point. It's not all that twisty, but hey, at least we get to see the creatures that hunt the house. And they were awesome. Really, I really loved their look. They're mostly hidden throughout the whole movie until the last 20 minutes, which are pretty damn cool. Definitely the best part of the movie, and even though it's such a breach in style, I'm glad they did so. Because it definitely, well, I wouldn't say safe, but it definitely helped the movie. Don't worry guys, I'm still here. I was honestly thinking about whether or not I should include this joke. It wasn't that funny, was it? Anyway, what to make of this movie? The critics seem to love it, but it's definitely dividing the actual movie watching audiences. Myself, I guess I'm still a little bit on the fence with this one. I mean, I like and I appreciate the whole throwback, you know, like the 70s, 80s homage style. But I also feel like that aspect doesn't really live up to its full potential, you know? It could have been done better. So now what you're left with is just a slightly boring movie that looks great and is kind of saved by the last 20 minutes. I don't know, maybe it's one of those movies that like just grows on you as time goes on. You know, that like in a while that I'm thinking back and I'm like, oh yeah, we are still here. Wasn't that one pretty good? I'd say give it a chance. I just feel like it's, you know, like I feel that it kind of helps knowing what to expect going in. You might enjoy it even more that way. So, to the people out there that already saw this one, what did you think? You agree, disagree? Let me know. And I'll see you guys next time.